Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials.
So, 4:30 on Friday at Tesco's. Tissues and toilet roll completely empty. And if we bob round to the pasta aisle, completely empty as well. The panic's clearly setting in. Well, I don't think it matters which country you actually live in. You'll almost all remember 2020 of the year of panic buying and supply chain shortages of food. In a recent video, I did promise you that this week I'd take the time to do a video on the most important things to look out for in 2021. I think I hinted at the time that food would be one of those videos, and here it is. It's a bit crazy this week. Here in the UK, we've just gone into, as predicted, a total full-blown national lockdown. You may as well say it's a carbon copy of the first one that we had back in March that kind of took countries around the world by surprise. The thought of having a national lockdown and not being able to leave your home and not going to work and all of these things, pretty much unthinkable all but a year ago. And yet here we are, starting 2021. We've been through a year of lockdowns and supply chain issues, and as we enter 2021, surprise, surprise, or not, here we are heading into another lockdown, and people are already panic buying in the supermarkets, and we didn't even start it yet. Officially it starts tomorrow, which is Wednesday. So yeah, chaos is set to ensue again. Apologies for drinking the coffee. I've literally, I've not been in long from work. I've just had time to make some dinner. But given the chaos that we're going through now, both in terms of lockdown and personally at work, because it's clearly having a knock-on effect on pretty much all workplaces around the country. So I am a bit short on time, but I did want to get this video out because I did promise, and I always try to deliver on my promises. I don't claim to be the world's greatest food prepper. I don't claim to be the world's greatest anything, but I am fairly content that I do have sufficient food set aside to see me through. I would hazard a guess. I've pretty much got a year to a year and a half in long-term food stores. If I looked at things like dried bulk foods, so rice, pasta, beans, I've got more than that. I'm probably heading towards a 2-year supply, but man cannot live on beans alone. So other things like tinned meats, tinned vegetables, dry powdered milk, sauces and stock cubes, tinned fish, all of those things I do stock, and I have probably got, if I was living just off cans, I've probably got 6 to 8 months of supply. Regular viewers to the channel will know that my house, and indeed my kitchen, is not big, so I am limited on space, but that doesn't stop me from stocking cupboards, and it also doesn't stop me stocking the long-term bulk dry goods up in the roof space. There's always space to be found, even in the smallest of homes. You'll also know from the videos that I've been putting out during 2020, they've been predominantly based around setting up the off-grid cabin and around trying to experiment and set up a self-sufficiency garden. And really, gardening is something that I did want to focus on in this video. It's all well and good having long-term food stored away, so your bulk dried foods, your canned goods and so on and so forth. But they are really the measure of last resort. In a true something hit the fan scenario, you're only going to last so long with what you've got set aside in store, and that's where really your self-sufficiency garden comes into play. You might remember in a previous video, a very recent video, I was looking through the cabin at my supplies of seed stores, what I had in terms of seeds set aside so that I could plant on a yearly basis a self-sufficiency garden and experiment with different kinds of fruits and vegetables. But I also had set aside a longer term bulk supply of heirloom seeds that I don't really want to touch. I want to leave these permanently in store. I might experiment with the odd one or two just to make sure they do actually work. But I do have an extensive pile of regular seeds that if they don't produce viable seeds themselves, I'm not too worried. I know that I've got my heirloom seeds set aside. So 2021, I think, is probably your last chance to get yourself organised in terms of long-term food stores. We are going to go through some massive disruption, both with the recurring lockdowns and supply chain issues caused by COVID, but on a more longer term by the economic crisis that dealing with COVID is going to cause. We've not seen any real impact yet on the economy. We've seen a lot of unemployment go up in 2020, but the true impact won't be felt until we're well into 2021. The furlough or job retention schemes are ongoing and are set to carry on till at least the end of March, beginning of April. And that's when you will start to see the gradual decline. I don't think anybody who pays attention to the real news, not the constant COVID repetition that we've got going on now, but the real backstory news of the damage that has been caused to the economy, I don't think anybody can fail to realise what is yet to come. As the furlough scheme ends, there will be even more unemployment as businesses that have been kept going by the furlough and the various government grants finally give up and close. And that will then lead to the government having to try and recover the vast amounts of money it's spent. So we are headed for an economic crisis. And if your long-term food stores and your self-sufficiency garden do nothing else, they'll at least give you something to fall back on if, unfortunately, you are one of the ones that's made unemployed. And it might just help you to get through the lean period until you can find alternative work. Again, with COVID, if the supply chains are disrupted, you'll have food in store. You won't have to go out and battle for the last tin or bag of rice that's on the shelves. But if you have your self-sufficiency garden, you don't need to dip into those long-term stores. As we start to head towards spring of this year, you will be able to get out there and plant and grow your own food. And if you can do it wisely, you should be able to grow sufficient to feed yourself and to have some in store as we go through the winter period at the end of this year. So out of all of the things that I can see coming in 2021, I think the number one priority is definitely to get yourself sorted out with long-term emergency food stores. Having a look through the supermarkets, everything is still currently on the shelf. There are some shortages in some areas, canned goods particularly, canned vegetables, because they tend to have been produced in previous years. And if you've watched my previous videos over 2020, you'll know that we had pretty significant disruption to growing and harvesting of food throughout the back end of 2019 and pretty much all the way through 2020. Weather events, famines, diseases, and of course the closures of businesses due to COVID all had an impact on food supply, and those will ripple through into 2021. So we will definitely see some shortages of some items during 2021, and of course whenever there's a shortage of a commodity, the price goes up. So even if you are fortunate and you're in work, you might well be impacted by higher food prices. Everybody has a budget at the end of the day, but more so if you are unfortunately made unemployed. What little assistance you get off the government doesn't stretch very far, and certainly isn't designed to cope with quite quick and significant increases in prices, particularly food prices. So I would make a point, if you're not prepping already, to seriously consider, even if it is just food, to tide you through a short-term crisis. You don't have to be able to accumulate a year or more of food stores over the course of 2021. It would be nice if you could, but I appreciate that not everybody can. Having said that though, it is possible to get a real good start really cheaply if you do focus on some specific items. And as I say, I have been checking in the supermarket to see what's there and what the prices are like, and it's surprising that some things, if you hunt around, still are available very, very cheaply for what you get for your money.
If you take a bit of time and shop around, it is still possible to find bargains, particularly on bulk dried foods such as bags of rice, bags of pasta, and on some of the canned goods. Canned fish like sardines and tuna is particularly cheap still, and you can still find bargains for things like corned beef.
So you can see even those few items that I've just scrolled through. A kilo bag of rice, 45 pence. Half a kilo of pasta, less than 30 pence. Tins of sardine, again, 30, 35, 36 pence, depends where you shop. They're all nutritious foods which will provide protein and calories, and you can make combination meals with other things that you might have stashed away in the cupboard in terms of tinned foods. So take advantage, start with those cheap items that give you big bang for buck, like rice and pasta and tinned meats and fish. They really will get you off to a good start, and then as and when you can afford it, throw a few extra items in your basket each time you go to shop, and you'll be surprised how quickly you can build up a decent long-term food store. If, as some people say, oh, it's all going to blow over, nothing to really worry about, the supply chain will always be there, government will take care of it. Okay, good luck with that. But even if it did come to pass that we didn't have a big event and nothing went wrong and everything did go on business as usual all the way through 2021, what's the worst that can happen? Well, the worst thing that can happen is that you would be eating food in 2022 that you bought at 2021 prices. That's the worst that can happen. We're not talking about going out and spending thousands of pounds or even hundreds of pounds. We're talking about a couple of pounds each week in the shopping basket, and within a very short space of time you'll have a decent emergency food store to fall back on if the worst does happen. And in reality, if everybody sat and thought for a moment about what went on in 2020, I think most of you would agree that it can and has happened. So it's not a case of if it might happen or when it might happen. It has. We have had clear examples of how quickly things can go wrong, totally unexpected, things that nobody could have imagined a year ago could ever have happened, and there's nothing to say that they won't happen again in 2021 or indeed in future years, and they could even be worse than 2020. So I'm not fear-mongering, I'm just saying practical insurance for yourself and your family. Number one priority in 2021 should be getting yourself sorted out with emergency long-term food stores, and in conjunction with that, at least having an experiment at what is possible to grow in whatever space it is that you have. The potential for it all to go wrong in 2021 is very, very real, and we're not even out of the first week yet, and we're already seeing that come to pass here in the UK with these additional lockdowns and yet more examples of panic buying. So I'll leave you with that thought. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope that you are staying safe. I hope that you are trying as best you can to get through whatever the crisis is throwing your way, and wish you the very best for 2021. But do consider what I'm saying about making food your priority now at the start of 2021, and at least then you'll have something tucked away as an insurance just in case the worst did happen.
Well, that's it for this video. I hope there was something in there that was of interest to you. If you did like the video, please do click on the like button. Also feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. What do you think? Food number one priority in 2021? I certainly think so, but let me know what you think in the comments section below. And for now, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.